All right, you guys, we are back for another week of Tai Chi from the dojo here in Tucson, Arizona. And I'm Carlos, and you are you. Welcome. Thanks for coming back. It's always a pleasure to join you virtually. I can feel your presence. It's not even live, so I'm feeling you in the future. And but I know you're there. And so we're just loosening up. We have a great bunch of stuff to do today. So we refer to this as wrapping the pole. But as I mentioned, our favorite theme is that there's all different versions of everything in Tai Chi, and not to get too attached to any one particular way of doing anything, because there's always another master or another teacher who is doing it a different way. So I was talking to a practitioner of Montauk Chia's school, and I was reminded that he does this as well. But in his tradition, it's called knocking on the door of life, and it's a little different because. So we're wrapping around as far as we can, right? As far as while we relax. But his is a little more gentle, and the hands don't come around as far, and they're just hitting the dantian here and the mingmen back here, or anywhere in that region. Okay. We've also discussed, but you're still loose, super loose. And don't make your hands go there. Just adjust and just get a movement going where they'll end up there. So don't guide your hands there. But if those two spots here and here happen to have like little magnets on them, then that would be great. And even when he does it, the hands don't always hit exactly. Another thing, let me show you in advance, is so what we're doing, I don't want to get ahead of myself, what we're doing today is, so we're in a drought right now, pretty bad drought. So we're going to do movements related to water. And water has many qualities. Water has so much symbolism in China. Traditional Chinese medicine, Tai Chi Chi Kung, astrology, everything. It has so much symbolism. I don't even know where to start. I could bury you in symbolism. I'm going to try to keep it simple, and we'll do this for a couple of weeks. There's just too much to cover. But my intention is to get us a little rain just by talking about water. But as a byproduct, you might feel refreshed, you might feel cool. We know that water is the fifth element. It corresponds to late winter. So even though water by itself is cool, the season that it corresponds to is the coldest part of the year. So I can already feel that burr. Actually, okay, so let's do some shoulder rolls. But actually, it's not. It's another hot one in the dojo. So a couple of technical notes. I'm trying a different camera because I'm having bandwidth problems. There's a problem. My ISP is giving me problems. So this video could either be worse quality in terms of just technically the video quality could be worse. Not my instructions, of course. And then it could come out late. It may take me till next week to upload this, okay? Because uploading a video to YouTube of this size takes 8 to 12 hours, right? So, I'm not sure when I can get it done. But thank you guys for being patient, and also Again, I don't like to attach these videos to any particular time on the calendar, but this is a holiday weekend. I hope you guys are having a great holiday. And I won't even mention which holiday. That's good. That's a smart way to do it. Okay. And then look up and down. You can safely assume that it's still 2020 or 2021. Otherwise, we'd all be back here at the dojo. So if we're doing a video, that means that we're still having some problems with COVID. Let's look side to side. Okay. So what was I saying about water? Let's see. What are my notes? Oh, another technical thing is it's so hot in here that I'm going to have to take more water breaks than you guys have to take. And I don't mind. I love it. I love it in here. It's peaceful, meditative. It's a little warm, but in February, I would trade anything for one of these days. In February, I love it warm. And so anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so if you see little chops in the video, that's me taking a water break, and I just edited it out, right? So don't think that something's wrong with your eyes or you missed something. But anyway, so let's look straight ahead, tip the head from side to side. So what are the qualities? So water is perfect for Tai Chi. It's synonymous. All the martial arts seem to beg you to be more like water, at least the internal martial arts, and so those qualities, and those are the qualities we'll deal with today. We might get into more symbolism next week, but we'll keep it simple for today. So the qualities we're looking at is this yielding, how water just yields and moves around everything. It's just perfect analogy for Tai Chi. Force does not meet force. When water comes in a stream, comes up around a boulder, it just kind of veers around it. And it's very obvious, but it's you have to discuss it. The other thing, so also the progress of water is soft and yielding, but yet it's tenacious. It always reaches its goal. You can't hold back water, right? So it has this tenacious quality without being stubborn, or certainly not stiff at all, and certainly not tense, but it does reach its goal eventually. These in the body, for traditional Chinese medicine, the element of water pertains to the kidneys and the urinary tract. So instead of so when we do a lot of our Qigong, sometimes the hands just come down here, sometimes they return to the dantian. Today they might be a little lower, thinking of all your plumbing, right? Or in a couple of cases today, the hands are going to come behind us into our kidneys. And so let me show you what I'm doing. So I'm making our traditional dragon head hand with the fingertips together. If you're new, you're saying, why is he wearing gloves? Just so that the left and the right hand are easier. Orange is right, yellow is left. Okay, so this is our dragon head that we use in single whip, right? Your traditional single whip, that's the dragon head. So this is going to come around into our kidneys. Okay, you can see that. So, and some Qigong practitioners make a fist and they hit their kidneys. I don't want to do that. I just want to place the back of my hand against my kidneys, okay? So if I tell you to do that later, you'll see what that means, okay? And I hope you can see that. Even with the gloves, it's hard to see. Okay, from our fifth element, or our 5 elements Qigong set. Okay, so first of all, 5 element Qigong, we're doing a lot of that today. We're also doing the Lotus set, and these are really old, and the older it gets, the more versions there are, the more names change and everything like this. So if you have any familiarity with these, and I think I'm doing it wrong, I'm just doing it differently. The way I learned it could be different. Or the books that I'm reading are different than the books that you read. So, so from our fifth element, so it's really neat. Okay, so let's just start. So we might normally start here or here, but let's start with our hands and our kidneys, right? Okay. And then, okay, so then come around. And well, let me I tell you what, I'm gonna show you what this is not, because we're already familiar with a couple of things that are gonna look very similar to this. Okay, so Wild Goose Qigong is like this. You can do this with me. It couldn't be simpler, right? You remember? So, and we'll do it again, because I kind of sprung this on you. Okay. Oh, you can't see my hands. Oh, that's not good. All right. Yeah, different field of view here, I think. Okay, so that's Wild Goose. It's not that. Okay, separate the clouds is up the middle, palms facing me, and then turn the hands outward and separate clouds. It's not that, but that feels good. So we'll do that again. I just want you to feel the difference. Up the middle, and then out, and down. So what it is like separate the clouds in reverse. So we'll start here, and then with our hands on our kidneys, and then we sort of come around, and then actually, I'm getting two of them confused. From here, okay, yeah, that's right. From here you can just bring your hands down. There you go. I'm sorry. Inhale up. And then just bring the water down on you. So you'll find in different water Qigong, sometimes the palms are facing outward. I'd rather bring, and now we'll bring our hands back here. We'll start over again. Take a breath here. The knees are soft, feet are parallel. We'll just come down to here and up. So as I was mentioning, sometimes you see the palms out so that a person viewing you could sort of visualize water, but I can feel it a lot more when my palm, I can feel more chi when my palms are towards me. So I like that. I'm not making this stuff up, but there's different versions, right? So I like the versions where the palms are facing towards me and I can really feel as if rain is just falling on me, right? So we come up to here. And I swear there's so many versions of this, you guys, because it's so basic. Yeah, I really like this one. So this is going to be sort of a very yin, sort of gentle day. I don't think your legs are going to be sore. You might do something later that will tax your shoulders. One more time. But it's not related to these movements. Okay, so let's do one more. So this doesn't even have a name. This is just part of the 5-element Qigong, the 5th element being water. Some of them have names. I don't know, maybe by next week I'll have figured out names. But in my notes, some of this movement that we're doing doesn't have a name. Okay. So this is a good place to meditate. Okay, now we're going to do a sequence from the Lotus set we're going to do 2 movements. So the lotus set is like a Tai Chi form. It continues on and on, but you can take each individual movement and do them separately if you want, but most people don't. We're going to take 2 movements that have to do with water and separate those and do those. So this is actually 2 movements. We can do this several times. Okay, so my hands are still, my dragon heads are still in my kidneys. And so the first movement is called Fair Lady Gathers Water and Sprinkles It on the Garden. So you're going to bring your hand around, gather some water, lift it up. So they know that you can't really gather water with your hands. And okay, so then we'll do, I'll finish that sentence in a second. And then the next part of the sequence is called Rain Begins to Fall. So our hands come into these loose fists, and why do we have to grab on to water? I don't know. Sink down, and when your hands drop to the height of your shoulders, we can stop here. This is also called Lotus Takes Root. Okay? And I know our hands are in a gentle grasping position because this is also called ringing the temple bells. And you could not grasp a rope with flat hands. Okay, so let's move on. So we'll do this again. So I'm going to press back up, bring my hands down onto sort of the surface of water. This is another thing you'll see quite often, your hands just sort of moving on the surface of water. And we'll bring our hands back into our kidneys. Relax here. Feels so good. What I was saying was, let's start again. So Fair Lady gathers water and sprinkles it on the garden. They know that this is impossible. And in fact, one name, and I think probably if you look at the Chinese characters, one name calls this Fair Maiden sieves water, and sprinkles it on the garden, meaning that it's impossible to pick up water. So you bring your arms out as wide as your garden is, and then they can come up, and then we can reach up into the clouds. And since we're doing water, this is Rain Begins to Fall. But I like that rope imagery as well. The rope, as we'll discuss later, in Chinese the word is sheng, and the pronunciation is very similar to shen. Shen being spirit, okay? And I don't think it's an accident. In China, knotting strings and ropes there's all sorts of symbolic practices and around knots, and they're very there's a lot of superstition around knots. I don't mean superstition in a bad sense. Sometimes in English, we lack the language to adequately discuss other cultures' spirituality. So if I say mythology, it doesn't mean that myth as in not true. That's up to you to decide. I'm just using that term for instance. Or if I was to say superstition, again, that doesn't mean that I'm mocking it. Let's do this one more time. Fair Maiden gathers water and sprinkles it on her garden. So sprinkling, bringing the arms out nice and wide so that we can go open the chest and shoulders a little bit But don't worry about opening the chest and shoulders. We're going to do that later for sure. You'll see. Okay, and then sink down. So remember, lotus, root takes root. See how I sunk down? And as I mentioned, there's a bunch of other movements in the lotus set. But this is all we'll do for right now. Okay, so let's come back to here. You guys can meditate again. Feel that chi building up in your kidneys, helping your entire urinary tract health. Something that you take for granted until it doesn't work. And then you're in trouble. Okay, next comes turtle swims in the lake. This is also from the lotus set. It's taken out of sequence. I'm just taking the water ones, you guys, because we're trying to conjure some rain here, don't forget. So turtle swims in the lake. And this will be similar. Why are they all so similar? Well, it's because they all involve water. Okay, and so this looks just like a turtle. And you can leave your hands in that sort of beak shape until they get out to about here, and then flatten them out. And then your arms are going to cross. This is my right hand on top. It doesn't make a big difference, but if you're keeping track, it's right hand on top. And then look, you guys stay there. I'm going to lift my arms. Look at that. My hand ducked under here. So now when they come back out, it's underneath. Oh, wow. So we'll do this again. Don't worry if you didn't catch that. And then our hands. So it's just like a turtle. It's really neat. And the movement seems to stop, but it never really stops. Okay, so let's try it again. So this comes around in a very naturalistic way. Hydrodynamic, so that we're not moving against water. So my left hand's on top, look at that. They come in under my arms, look at that, my left hand ducked under. And now when they come back out, left hand's underneath. It's not a big thing, it's just very beautiful, that's all. And then whenever you're ready, you can form your bird beak hands and then bring those back into your kitties. We'll do this 2 more times, okay? So it seems like I stopped, but actually in this time I didn't stop anywhere. It's one long continuous movement. Even when it seems like there's stillness, there's not. So right hand's coming on top this time. It just slides in under the arm, and then when the arms come back out, it's underneath. Oops, getting a little sloppy there. Doesn't matter. Turtles aren't perfect. In the lake swims the turtles. Okay, bringing chi to my kidneys. And last time, some nice stretching in the front of the arms. Hope you can feel that. Left hand's coming in on top this time, crossing, sneaking under, and then back out. I wonder if you could actually swim this way. Last time. Okay. I'm going to meditate here for just a moment. Okay, so I don't want to completely put you to sleep. before our break, we'll wake you up again with some Kun Lun Chi Kung, Fisherman Casts the Net. Now this is another one that you may have learned probably as a ward-off energy. Something like that. That's like diagonal flying, parting the wild horse's mane, grasp a sparrow's tail, but that's sort of a Pung energy, and I really believe that this is a flicking energy. And I looked all over my notes. I can't find my list of all the different jings. There is a flicking energy, not to be confused with Fa Jing, which is like an explosive energy or a dispersing. It's sort of dispersing, but not to be dispersing the same way as Fa Jing. So it's like a flicking energy, and it's not like a ward off with the palm up. It's both palms down. Okay, why don't I just show it to you? Okay, so it's gathering and releasing those. So I'm going obliquely towards one of the corners. One foot's forward, one foot's back, just a comfortable. And of course there's a shift of weight, but don't worry too much about that. Okay, so we just start gathering in a sort of a round ball motion. I'll go in super slow motion. Yeah, I'll do it in super slow motion and then flick your nets out. Okay, so gather in a ball and then flick. Okay, so it's really meant to be done a little quicker. Okay, so see, and you want your hands to shake. So we have twisting, shifting the weight, pressing up through the feet, drilling down through the feet. There's a lot going on here. And let's try to the other side. So just so you see what's going on. This, I would call this the outside. This is my inside. I'm circling around to the inside and then expelling to the outside. So in, out. And it's not perfect, but it's sort of a ball of energy. And then like a fishnet, casting it out. So it's meant to be done quick. Maybe I can get even a little bit more loose. So nice and loose at the end, right? All right, one more time. Okay. Stand and meditate. So we'll take a little break and come back and we'll practice a couple movements from our form. We're going to do draw the bucket from the well in a little bit of depth, and then we'll do our form. But as we normally do, before we do our form, if you'd like to practice it on your own and to develop questions, confusion, lack of memory, where does this go, where does that go, which foot is forward, which has the weight on it, and then when we do our form, it'll be more meaningful. But when you're doing your form that way, don't make a big deal about it. You're just you're roughing it out. It doesn't even have to be necessarily smooth. So we will be right back. All right, we're back from our water break, and or maybe you took a longer break than that. You may notice the video might look a little different. I looked at the first part, and I just didn't think it looked good at all. So my apologies. It's really hard to see. The lighting is weird, and so if it wasn't for the gloves, you probably wouldn't really be able to tell what was going on with my arms anyway. But we're going to practice this next week again. So if that's any of that's unclear, we'll practice it next week. I might even try like a different color clothing so that my arms don't get lost in this. So we'll see what we can do. But for right now, we were going to do our form, but keeping with our water theme, we're going to draw the bucket from the well. And it's a wonderful movement. It's basically a back fist, but it's a back fist that originates, so the well refers to this hoop shape that we create to keep our partner off of us. Because without going into it, since I don't have somebody else to demonstrate it with, we did a shoulder strike, and then they came around and they're doing strike a tiger, so we come around and kind of keep them off, because we know what we want to do. We know that we want to bring this up. So we create the well. First we create the well. The well is keeping our partner off of us, right? So we create the well, and then we draw the bucket from the well. Okay? So and this is one of the hardest movements to do without making it an arm movement. It has to be done, or we must endeavor to make it a whole body movement. So maybe just get this arm out of the way and just see, how can I make this movement? It's a beautiful circular movement. It shouldn't be that hard. How can I move my whole body? Obviously by twisting, because in the Chinese translation, in the Chinese, it's called torso flung punch, right? In Chen Yanling's translation. So I can feel this, right? Plus we're also pivoting. So we're coming around, and I don't want to really make the movement while I'm still pivoting, because I lose my power if if both feet aren't on the ground. But I'll do this again. So I would do a shoulder strike, and then shift my weight, come around. And once I plant this back foot, then I can really get some power. But the circularity in this is inherent. We're pivoting in the right direction, in other words. So we do a shoulder strike, and then come into here, pivot around, and then ba-bing, right? And boy, this is a tough one to do on the other side. I have to admit, I don't know if I've ever done this on the other. Yeah, I think we've got one. Okay, so anyway, so I would pivot the other direction, step in, step back, and then a bing. So just at the same height and placement as your own face. That's a pretty good. So from the other side, it would give you a different angle. We would do our shoulder strike, okay, kind of holding our partner's hand out of the way, and then they come around to this side, so it doesn't matter about their hand anymore, and then we pivot, step in, oops, I'm sorry, come around, pivot, step in and back, oops, had the wrong hand on top. Why don't we just start this over again? All right. Shoulder strike, pivot, step in and back, and then draw the bucket from the well. Okay, I hope that explains it. Hope I'm not leaning too far, but it is. So it's like that. This is my left hand, so it doesn't feel natural. Right hand, and I don't think we'll make a drill out of it. Left hand, sure we can, why not? A little more, let me make it a little more circular. Okay, so. Oops. That. Does that make sense? I don't even need to see my feet anymore. Close enough. All right, good. So that is the only water-based movement we have in our form in the first 8 movements. And we have a ton of movements that relate to water later in the form. We'll get to that next week. So for right now, we'll do our form. I want to do it from an unfamiliar angle. So why don't I face southwest? Okay, we'll do the A side. I have no idea where we're going to end up with this. I'll just do the first 8 movements and then we'll do our transitions. So relax. Oh, our intention. I want to have an intention before we do our form each time. Even it can be something very mundane, but our intention now is to be like water. Well, that's a lot. Being like water that's a whole philosophy, right? So what aspect of water shall we be like? How about, what I had in mind was, let's have our changes of direction be like water moving around a boulder. Water's coming down a stream, a boulder gets in the way, and it just goes around effortlessly. Our 88 San Sau form is known for lots of changes of directions. Not little 45 degrees, but big 90s and big 180s, right? We have a 270 degree change of direction at about the 30th movement. It's very dynamic. So think of your changes of directions not as these 90-degree perfect pivots. Just think of them as flowing around some object that is in our way. It's a perfect way to think about it, right? And then our partner is also flowing around us. So you have to learn to be like water moving around water. Very difficult to do, but the imagery is all around us. The imagery of water is everywhere, so it's easy to study. Okay, so be back in just a second. Okay, here we go. See if I can do this with you. You can still see my feet. We'll give it a try. This is a strange angle too. We try to do a different angle each week. Sink into your right foot. Left foot slides up audibly. Left hand comes up. Step through. Right hand moves through. So far, no changes of direction. So we're not being water-like yet. We're just doing good Tai Chi. 7 stars. Carry hammer. White crane. White ape swings through branches. All right, here we go. So there's this obstacle, so we're just moving around. Oops, let me come up, step up and over. So we didn't have to do a pivot for that one, but we kind of changed directions there. Ring the gong. Okay, so now strike a tiger like water around an immovable object, and then strum the lute. Here we go. Now there's an immovable object here. We just, like water, inspect horse's mouth. And then, probably can't see my feet. I'm going to just finish up here though. Step back to dragon pose. Okay, hope that made sense. We'll explore this some more. So we're just flowing around our partner. It's been so long since we did this with a partner. You probably can't imagine where your partner is, but I'll work you through it. Any change of directions or any, just think about, and don't even have to worry about what your partner's doing. So let's do, I'm also going to face southwest, and we'll do the B side until I run out of space, or 4 times, whichever comes first. So when we're done, I should be facing this direction again. because each time we face a different cardinal direction. Okay, here we go. Step back, dragon pose, single whip. Okay, here we go, just like water flowing around a boulder over here, and then flowing backward, a little eddy, pull and push. Okay, step behind, step up any way you like. And then that was our shoulder strike. Here's draw the bucket from the well. There's another pivot, just flowing around, smooth as can be. Downward push. White snake darts out its tongue. Okay, now we're back on the A side. So 7 stars, half step up, carry hammer, white crane, white ape. Okay, here's a pivot. So it's not much of it. It's a change of directions, but it doesn't really feel really flowy. Elbow strikes the heart. The gong. Strike a tiger. Definitely more like flowing around a submerged log in the stream. Strum the lute. This is definitely like flowing around a submerged log in a stream. Inspect horse's mouth. Uh-oh, I may run out of space, you guys. Dragon pose. We'll squeeze in a couple of more movements. So, and as I've mentioned before, you can take it, so look where your feet are, couple of shuffle steps so that you're weighting and your feet are still the same, and then I think I was at single whip before I started talking. And then strike a tiger right. This is really like water moving around a boulder. And then we pivot and pull and push and a shoulder strike, pivoting right, draw the bucket from the well. There we go. Another right pivot, just oozing around, downward push, white snake darts out its tongue. 7 stars. Ooh, I think I'm going to be able to continue on. Now I'm back on the A side. Okay, that was white crane. This is white ape. This is elbow strikes the heart. This is ring the gong. And then here's an obstacle. Ooze around it. Strike a tiger. And then how water starts to come up and over an obstacle. That is strum the lute. And now I'm moving around the obstacle. Inspect the horse's mouth. And then back to dragon pose. And I am now facing where I started. So I would go into single whip. Now that's where I started. So we went around 4 times. Very good, very good. All right, so here's what I wanted to show you. Something new today. It's going to be in 3 parts. So, this is getting a little bit away from our water theme, but it doesn't matter because it's very much like water. So in some martial arts, like Wing Chun, for instance, they say that every defense should be an offense. So we might do a defense and then an offense. But they would say, no, your defense and your offense should be the same. So defense, offense, right? It's not what I'm talking about. There's another theory in martial arts that if you have a weapon and you do something with your weapon, that same movement should mean something even if you are disarmed. So a thrust is pretty obvious. That would be sort of like a punch, right? But for instance, in Arnis, they take this to a high degree. They have a stick. They have a stick form, all these stick things. And then if your stick was broken or you just had a knife, you could do the exact same movements with a broken stick or a knife. But what happens if you lose that? You can do the same movements with your empty hand. So the reason I mention that is there is a number of Tai Chi forms that utilize a staff. And there's also Qigong using a staff. It's very rare. But I don't want you to be in your living room with a staff. You're going to break something. I can't even use a staff in the dojo without almost breaking something. So what else could we do? We could use a rope. I mentioned that earlier. You can use a rope and do just about everything with the rope. But then why am I telling you this and why don't I have a rope with me? Because you can also do everything you can do with the rope, or most of the things, with empty hands. So bear with me here. Use your imagination. And let's see. The first thing would be you grasp your rope. And your rope might be, it could be a yoga strap. It could be a bathrobe, terry cloth bathrobe belt. It could be a rope, a real rope. And I'll actually show you with a real rope. Don't get one. You're cheating if you get one. Okay, I just want to show this to you so that you don't have to use so much imagination. Okay, but don't get a rope. Use your empty hands. I'm grasping. I've doubled this and doubled this and doubled this so that it's not going to hit me in the face. And I'm just holding about this much, and then we just come up here and just go side to side. They do this in yoga as well. So we have to do this because there's not many good side stretches in Chi Kung, okay? So let's go back and forth. In yoga, we would hold this. In Qigong, we just go from side to side. Okay, without the rope, you're just going like this. But you're imagining that these two are connected. That's the difference. They're not just hanging out. You imagine a connection. This is why I'm showing this to you. Okay, and then we would go with a longer rope. Okay, so, and again, I'm just showing you, I want you to use empty hands. Don't go run and get a rope. Please don't. I'm showing this to you so that your imagination won't have to work overtime. Okay, so this is about as wide as you can grip. And the reason why I don't want you to use a rope is, or a staff, is because you'll hurt your shoulders. So I'm intentionally showing this to you so that you use empty hands and you won't hurt your shoulders. So I'm going up side to side so you can see. So you're holding this rope or staff or empty hands, and you bring it up and back behind you. So in Vietnam, there's something called the Vietnamese longevity staff. It's, I think, 12 exercises. Pretty sure this is one of them. There's a 17 Jiang set, referring to a bamboo staff. And then the rope movements don't really have a name as far as I can tell. So I hope you didn't hurt your shoulders. If you were trying this, if you went and cheated and got a strap, you might hurt your shoulders doing this, but you're much less likely to hurt your shoulders this way. So then it gets better. Okay, so do I need to use this so that you can use your imagination or not? I will, because you can't picture this, okay? You can't picture it in your mind unless you see me do it, okay? So it's an exception. If you have a rope, don't use it. That's cheating. I'm just showing this to you just so you can see it. Okay, so we're here, right? And to a certain extent, you're trying to keep this straight, but you don't have to. And then we're going to come around here. Oh, you can't see my hand. I'm sorry. And then to the side, and then behind me, and then to the other side, and then in front of me. So we'll go the other direction. Okay, here we go. Around this way, behind me, to the side, and then in front. Okay, so now you see what's going on. I'm going to get rid of the rope. So, to the side. Okay, but then let me tell you, let's do it a different way. I prefer to turn. I'm not going to pivot, but I'm going to turn. This is much more Qigong, right? I don't like all these straight lines. I don't like them at all. So I'm going to twist towards you with my empty hands, and now my rope is behind me. I come to here. I'm going to turn away from you. My rope is coming around. Now it's back in front of me. We'll go the other way. Turn around behind me. All right, now it's in front of me, but not super far in front of me. So there's another version of this that when we actually use the rope, we can do it sticky. We can have it actually be in contact with our body. So that's very, 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 very Tai Chi to have it, not have it way out in front, because I've seen people trying to keep this rope or staff like way away from them, right, and in very straight lines. My favorite one of all is, and again, just so you can visualize this, is again, why the only flaw in the rope and staff movements is they try to keep everything really straight, and they try to keep the arms really straight, but we know we don't need to, right? So the one that I've seen is just awesome, awesome, awesome. So this is great. Black rope in front of a black shirt. Sorry, sorry, but it's not important. I'm coming around to the side. Look at that, my arms are bent. Both arms are bent. And it goes behind me. This is much better. Bent arms are better. Okay, so now you get the idea. Empty hands. Palms down. Around. This is the best part here. Okay, and then over to here. And now it's in front of you. We'll go around the other way. Feels really good. It's behind you right now. Go around the other way. Can we add our twisting and turning? Of course we can. I'm going to turn obliquely. I'm going to turn towards you. Oh, that's even better. This one to me is the best one of all. Turn away from you. Okay, so your assignment for next week is to next week find you a piece of rope. All right, but not this week. Okay, that's enough. I just wanted to give you a little taste of that in such a way as there's no shoulder injuries, because you weren't really holding on to anything real, so you could not have hurt your shoulders. I hope. All right, sometimes we'll find a way to hurt ourselves no matter what. So for our stepping, what type of stepping could we possibly do that has water involved in it? Well, of course, we can do some circle walking with fish palms. We've done this before. We used to use fish palms when we were considering the figure eight. We used to look at finding figure eights in our form and all throughout Qigong. And one of the figure eights is fish palms, but it's behind me. But it's facing down, palm facing down, palm facing up. So holding a ball, both palms are together. Rotate both palms up, one behind the other. and then bring it over here, and off we go. Let's see, you need a center of the circle, just so your imagination can figure it out. But eventually your mind is getting to the point where you don't need to mark the center of your circle. So the neat thing is that as I start to walk my circle, this front palm is pointing in. And if I keep some moderate pulling through my arms, this front arm is turning me inwards towards the center of the circle. Very handy. See what I mean? It's trying to turn me around, right? Can you feel that? And I may have mentioned something about learning an actual bagua change of directions, but not this week. We've done too much. But I'm going to use this turning feeling to turn me around and then switch my hands. Hope I'm not too far from the camera. And I hope you can feel that nice pulling through your fish palms and pull through your arms. So it's not a figure eight, it's an S curve. It's a beautiful S curve that your arms are making. If you let your hands pull you, they would spin you around, but don't do that. Just do just enough to motivate you to turn in the proper direction. All right, and that is our step of the week. And again, if it's too hot to go walk your dog or do your normal exercise, do many, and change directions often. And that's also extremely meditative, so you're getting exercise and you're also clearing your mind. It's very hard to think of other stuff if you're really paying attention to all those different things happening. Do you have stability? Are you stepping properly? Are you sinking down? You can always make it harder by slowing it down and floating, right? Making each step take a long time, right? This is what you're working on, okay? So, especially if you're not doing your form. So, what did we find? This is so great. We have so many names for this, for what we use as our closing Qigong. I actually found, they do this in the 5-element Qigong, and sometimes they don't call it anything. And they may have but they have a different feeling for it. But in one book, they called it small heavenly circle. All right. The only difference I can see from the way we normally do it, it's so great. Now we're up to about 6 different names for this movement. But it's such a basic, beautiful movement. The only difference I can see is, watch carefully. When my arms float up, my body sinks down. And then when my arms sink down, my body presses up through the legs and floats up, just like a piece of light wood that can float, like a nice light balsa wood. So the arms come up, body sinks down. Arms sink down, body floats up. A couple more of these. Do one more. When you're done, just stand and meditate. we'll look at that more next week. Okay, our closing proverb, I believe it's unattributed. I tend to interpret it as pertaining to meditation, but like any good proverb, has many, many meanings, and it's very water-soaked. The proverb for the week is, stillness turns muddy water into clear water. Thank you so much for coming. Extreme pleasure to practice with you, play with you, as they say. And we will see you next week.